Now you might be wondering, how is this supposed to be easy? Well, if we remove the gradient, you notice that the whole build starts looking a lot simpler. This is because all of the difficulty with this build lies in the gradient. And don't worry about that, I've got a system in place, anyone can do it. In fact, to prove just how easy this build is, I'm gonna be building it on my survival world. First step, we need to clear out an area. Just like so. Okay, now we're gonna want to mark out the layout. It's gonna be a 9 by 15 rectangle. So 1, 2, 3, 8, 9 by 1, 2, 3, 14, 15. Also, if you want to make the water wheel, make sure the terrain is at water height, and also make sure the layout goes right up to the water's edge. Okay, this is also probably a good time to look at the materials we're gonna need for this build, because I apparently forgot to do this while recording the tutorial. So we're gonna need these 3 chests. In the top chest you can find materials for the walls, the roof, and the water wheel. The middle chest has materials for all of the details, the floors, windows, the vines crawling up the build, and also all the flowers for the planters. You will need 12 flowers in total. They don't have to be the ones I've chosen here, obviously. And in the bottom chest we have some extra blocks that you might need. For example, we're gonna need a ton of temporary blocks, some scaffolding, torches, 2 water buckets, some terraforming materials. We're also going to need some extra mud brick stairs, packed mud, and azalea leaves. This is because of how we're going to build the gradients. It'll make sense in a moment. So yeah, that should be all. Obviously there's a full list down in the description. Now back to the tutorial. Okay, so first we're going to make the water facing facade. We're going to pillar up 1 block outside this layout, like so. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 blocks tall. And then the same thing on the other side, 1 block outside the layout, like so. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 blocks tall. Next, on top of the pillars, we're gonna add another 2 blocks, 1, 2. Then temporary block like so, 1, 2. Temporary block like so, 1, 2. And continue like this until you meet in the middle. In the end it should look something like this. Next we're gonna go back up this and we're gonna add stairs like this. Here, 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 and here. And also on the other side, kind of like this. And now where the 2 sides meet in the middle, we're gonna place 2 blocks like so. Then we're gonna break these 2 blocks. Add stairs on either side, and then on top we're gonna put dirt here, and a stair here. So in the end this whole outline should look like this, and now all that's left is to fill it in with some temporary blocks. Okay, now before we move on to the opposite facade, it's probably a good time to mention that they're not actually the same. I imagine the waterside facade as kind of the main load-bearing wall of the house, so that's why it's actually slightly bigger. It's just something to keep in mind. Okay, so first we're gonna break this corner, and then we're gonna raise an 8 block tall pillars made out of temporary block. Also on this side, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Just like so. Now on top of the pillar we're gonna add 1 polished deepslate and a stair. Then we're gonna put a temporary block here, another polished deepslate, and another stair. Then continue like so until the 2 sides meet. In the end you should have something looking like this. We're also gonna add a stair here on this side and another one here on the other side. Now we're gonna go ahead and place slabs on top of all of these stairs. So by now it should look like this. And here where the 2 sides meet in the middle, we're gonna place 1 block here, then a stair on top facing this direction, and another slab on top of that. So in the end the roof should look like this. Next we need to fill in this facade, just like so. Now we're gonna connect the two facades by making a 7 tall wall on either side. So we're gonna break this and then go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 blocks tall. And so we're gonna need to fill in this area, just like so. We're also gonna do this on the other side of the build. With that done, it's now time to add in the gradient. So let me explain. Okay, now we're gonna start with the front wall. First, we're gonna destroy this bottom layer and replace it with this polished basalt. Make sure to kind of randomize the rotation of it, just like so. Then on top of the polished basalt, we're gonna add regular basalt, kind of like so. Now we're gonna break the top layer and we're gonna replace it with Deepslate tiles. The layer beneath it should become cracked Deepslate tiles. Then the layer beneath this one should become mud. And beneath the mud we're gonna add a layer of Smooth Basalt. So now you should have these kind of strips. Wait a second. So now you can see we have these kind of strips of blocks. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna kind of smudge them into each other so that we have a smooth gradient going from the bottom all the way to the top. First thing we're gonna do is we're gonna combine the Smooth Basalt and the basalt. Basically we're gonna break kind of this layer of blocks and we're gonna fill it in equally with both Smooth Basalt and basalt. Kind of like so. Then we're gonna smudge the basalt layer and the polished basalt layer. So we're gonna bring some of the polished basalt up into the basalt layer. Just a couple blocks. And then we're gonna bring some of the basalt down into this polished basalt layer. Kind of like so. Now you can see we have a smooth gradient all the way up to here. Next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna spread the mud layer into the two layers above and below it. So we're gonna break this, and we're gonna replace it with mud. Just like so. And the last thing we're gonna want to do is sprinkle some of the cracked Deepslate tiles onto the top layer. So maybe one here, another one here, and let's put two here. So now you can see the gradient is done. It wasn't that hard. One last thing we are gonna do is we're gonna go here onto the water side facade and we're gonna break 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 blocks, and we're gonna bring the gradient from the other side onto this side. So now we have a reference for where to start the gradient on this side. Next we're gonna do the same thing we did on that side on this side of the build as well. Now while you're building that, it's probably a good time to mention that I do actually have another tutorial for a bigger and harder build, and according to the analytics nobody's actually built it, so you could be the first. Okay, so now it's time to do the gradient on the water side facade. So once again we're gonna do the two strips going at the bottom like so, and then at the top we're gonna do something looking like this. Now we're basically gonna do the same steps that we did on the regular walls. We're gonna break this dirt and combine the layer of Smooth Basalt with basalt, kind of like so. We're gonna smudge the layer of basalt and polished basalt. We're gonna expand the layer of mud, and then we're gonna sprinkle in some cracked Deepslate in between the regular Deepslate. Now we do also have one extra step, because you can see now it's a bit too much mud, so now we're also gonna bring some of the Smooth Basalt back into the mud layer. just like so. Now the gradient is done. Lastly, we're gonna do basically the same steps on the opposite facade. Something like this. Also, I will admit that I actually ran out of some blocks while building this. Since this is a random texture, it's quite hard to estimate how many blocks you're gonna need, so it's probably best if you have a couple stacks extra. And with that, the walls of the build are done. It's now time to move on to the roof. Okay, so underneath the polished deep slate, we're gonna place a temporary block here, and here, and here, and then there's also gonna be one up here. Now we're gonna extend these blocks into strips that go all the way to the other side, just like so. Make sure to do the same on the other side of the build as well. And now you should have temporary strips of block going across the entire build like so. This will form the base of our roof. And up here at the top of the roof, we're gonna place a strip of mushroom blocks going all the way across, just like so. Then on top of the dirt pillar below it, we're gonna place another strip of mushroom blocks. Do this on both sides, so it should look something like this. Now on top of the rest of the dirt strips, we're gonna place packed mud. So now your roof should look like this. Obviously make sure to do this on both sides. Now on the edges of the dirt blocks, we're gonna place mud brick stairs. Now your roof should look something like this. Obviously make sure to do this on both sides. Now we're gonna add in a bit of texture and gradient. We're gonna take our jungle stairs and we're gonna replace some of the mud brick stairs with jungle. As you get closer to the top, there should be less and less jungle and more mud bricks. That way we have kind of a gradient. Obviously do this on both sides. Okay, now what we're gonna do is we're gonna gradient some of the mushroom blocks down. Kind of like this. You can see there's less mushroom blocks the further down we go. Also on the second to last layer, we're gonna add about 2 bits of packed mud. Kind of like this. And lastly, we're gonna gradient up some mud bricks. Kind of like this. Now make sure to do the same thing on the other side as well. And with that, the roof is done. Now beneath the roof, we're gonna place a fence gate here, open it, then a fence, and then we're gonna keep alternating like this all the way to the other end. It should look like this. Do this on the other side as well, just like so. Okay, now we're gonna go on the inside of the build and we're gonna put in the floor. I'm gonna be using Spruce Slabs, but you can use whatever you want. For the interior, I'm not gonna do a tutorial because depending on what you're gonna use this build for, you're gonna want something different. Like for example, if you're using it as a base, you might want a lot of chests, but you could also be using it just to cover up some farm, and in that case you don't even need the interior. At the end of the video, I'll show you an example of what I did for my interior, but there won't be any block by block tutorial. Also, if you want to add more floors to the build, they should be 4 blocks apart. So 1, 2, 3, 4, another floor here, then 1, 2, 3, 4, another floor here. Also, I forgot to remove the temporary dirt. You should also remove this. Okay, so now it's time to add in the windows. First, we're gonna break a 4x4 over here, placing a window here. Then the door should be right next to it. We're gonna break a 3x2. The door should come like here, and with some jungle stairs above. Next we have a 1 through 3 block space, and one window here, and another window here. Looks kind of like a Korean face. Place in the glass panes. Also for the big windows we're gonna put trapdoors, like so, and like so. And this is it for the front facade. Oh, we should also probably put in the stairs for this. Just a second. So like this, then maybe something like this. Okay, now let's put the door back. And there we go. This is the front facade. Next we're gonna go ahead and do this facade. I'm gonna break a 4x4 here. Glass panes. And trapdoors here and here. Next on the back facade we're gonna go 1, 2, 3 blocks from the edge. A 3 tall door. And we're gonna have another small window next to it. Glass panes. We're gonna break this. Add stairs. And let's mix it up a bit. And then place in the door and jungle stair above. Okay, just like that. Okay, now we're gonna go on the inside on what's supposed to be the second floor. And we're gonna break this here. And another one right next to it. I'm gonna place trapdoors on this one. And glass panes on the other one, just like so. Okay, and now on the opposite facade we're gonna break a 4x4 right here and a 2x2 here, and we're gonna place in glass panes here and trapdoors here, just like so. Now on the uppermost level we're gonna break these 2 blocks and we're gonna place trapdoors, just like so. And with that your facade should look like this and like this. And lastly we're gonna grab our 6 Deepslate tile stairs, and on the water side facade we're gonna pillar all the way up, and right here at the top of the build we're gonna break these 6 blocks and replace them with stairs. So like this, then like this, that way, and 1 block up, like this, this, and this. So now we have this kind of indent at the top of the build. It's just a small detail, just like so. And now it's time to put in the water wheel. But first I would actually like to show you something in creative mode, because I initially made this build with cherry wood accent. I even had a custom wheel, and I know that some of you might be keen to use the new 1.20 blocks, so if you want to, this is how the wheel is supposed to look, and then basically just replace all of the spruce accessories with cherry. So these are the planters, and this is the little side shelter. But for the block by block tutorial I'm gonna use the spruce version. Okay, so as you can see I've drained out a bit of the river just so you can see better what I'm doing. So first things first, we're gonna count 1, 2, 3 blocks up, and we're gonna place a terracotta here and here, and a trapdoor on the end. Then from this point we're gonna go 4 blocks in each direction, just like so. Okay, now we have to make a giant circle. So we're gonna go 1, 2 blocks here, 2 blocks here, then connect these up like so. There, now we have a quarter of a circle. And we need to repeat this 3 more times in each corner, so now we have a full circle. And now it's time to add in the texture, because obviously we can't leave it as dirt. We're gonna do a gradient from strip jungle wood to oak wood, then to strip spruce wood, and finally spruce planks. But since this is quite a small build, I'm just gonna let you copy what I've done. Just like so. Okay, now it's time to add in the wheel spokes. This is gonna be a bit tricky, so follow along. Okay, so we're gonna do the top one first. We're gonna need a stair here, and another stair like this here. And then 2 more stairs like this and like this. And lastly 2 more stairs like this and like this. So it should look like this. Now we basically just have to rotate this whole thing a bunch of times, just like so. Also make sure this spoke is made out of mud brick stairs. And with that the wheel is done. All that's left to do is to bring the wall down and into the water. So we're gonna break these blocks. We're gonna place like this. And like this. And we're gonna fill in with some polished basalt. And maybe even a few bits of regular basalt. Now I should probably also terraform this so it doesn't look so bad. This is looking way better. I also got my water fog fixed. Okay, now we're gonna add the flower planters. So we're gonna add one here. Like so. Another one here. Like so. One beneath this window and another one up here, just like this. And then at the back of the house we're gonna have a 4 white planter down here, just like so. Okay, and now that I've put flowers in all of these, it's time to make the small shelter. From this corner of the house we're gonna go 1, 2, 3 blocks, and then we're gonna place 1, 2, 3 fences, and then another fence like so. Then on top we're gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4 like so. And then we're gonna go 1 block up. 1, 2, 3, 4 like so. And then another layer so that we meet up with the wall. So in the end it should look like this. Okay, now we're gonna decorate it a bit. We're gonna put a barrel here, a chest here, another chest here, bed like this. It can be whatever color you want. Sign, trapdoor, and then we're gonna have another moss block with another flower right here. So in the end it should look like this. Okay, so all we need to do now is add the vines crawling up the walls and we're done. Okay, so our first vine is gonna start here. And we're gonna build it first out of azalea leaves, and then we're gonna add the flowering azalea and the birch leaves. So we should just start making our way up and onto the roof. So now you should have something looking like this. Now we're gonna go in and add a couple flowering azalea leaves just in random spots. Just like this. As you can see, I've replaced some of the azalea leaves with flowering azalea. Now we're gonna go ahead and add in the birch leaves. Just make sure you don't place a birch leaf next to a flowering azalea leaf. And with that, the vine is done. Now we're gonna make another one covering the back as well. But first I think I might actually replace this flowering azalea leaf with another stem. Yeah, I think this looks a bit better. Maybe I'll move the flowering azalea up here. Anyway, let's do this on the other side as well. On this side we're gonna have an azalea crawling up from here and going on top of the roof, and even a bit crawling up this facade as well. So it should end up looking like this. And with that, the build is done. There is however one last step that people usually forget about, and that's tying your build into the landscape. There's no point in having a beautiful build if it's sticking out of the landscape like a sore thumb. As you can see here, I've added bushes, trees, flowers, a pathway going around the build, and I even did a bit of terraforming. And with that, the build looks so much better and more complete. Also ignore the path blocks, they're just marking out a future pathway. Now the last thing to do would be to build an interior, and I'm gonna try and time-lapse that, although this is Bedrock Edition, so I'm not entirely sure how. But anyways, let's go! And with that, the base is done. On the inside I didn't really have much room. As you've probably noticed through the windows, half of the house is actually dedicated to a sniffer enclosure. The enclosure has minecarts running about underneath, so it doubles as a farm. So yeah, this is the ground floor where you see we have a bit of storage, some furnaces and a bit of decoration. Up in the loft is the bedroom. It's quite cozy. You can see we have hanging cherry blossoms and all kind of plants, greenery, bushes. And also above the sniffer enclosure, I've actually put the cherry leaves so that we have petals flowing down. And lastly, up here there's an attic, although there's nothing much here. So yeah, with that it's the end of the video. If you want to see more of these tutorials, like, comment, subscribe, it'll help me out a lot. If you need ideas for your own interiors, then I'll have a link to my decorations playlist. But with that, it's actually nighttime outside, so thanks for watching and goodbye.